Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another fun edition of Good Guy, Bad Guy Sports. I'm Ron Poniewasz, and this is Mr. Larry Kelly joining me, member of the Luxembourg, Arbit, Kelly, and George law firm. He's also an assistant baseball coach at Penn State Shenango and the former varsity baseball coach at Shenango High School, championship-winning baseball coach. And he's an assistant coach under Ralph Blundo on the Newcastle boys basketball staff. Larry Kelly, welcome back as we tackle another week of national topics here on Good Guy, Bad Guy Sports.
Well, good guy, bad guy sports. I mean, obviously you're the bad guy here. I mean, everybody that knows me knows I'm a pretty good guy, but it's hard to make you happy. You understand? You're a tough guy to make happy. Sometimes you can be, pretty caustic. Last week you called Clayton Kershaw. I even hate to repeat this. You said he was a garbage playoff pitcher. And I had to point out to you, his record was 13-13. So that's not so bad. And, you're just a tough guy to make happy. So that's why you're the bad guy in Good Guy, Bad Guy Sports.
Well, one thing, actually two things. When you say 13-13, you got to remember that he plays for the Dodgers. So he's probably getting a heck of a lot more run support than a Paul Skeens or anybody else on the Pirates pitching staff.
My Fifth Ward Little League team, where I was the leadoff batter, followed by Dominic Lombardo, was put up more runs than the Pittsburgh Pirates. Okay, you know what I'm talking about here. Larry Kelly, Denny Flora, and Dominic Lombardo, we put up more runs than the Pittsburgh Pirates. So that was a bad analogy that you just look. 13-13 against the best competition. Not what he was in the regular season, but I'm not ready to call him names. So,
and the other end of that is when you mention an earned run average, there's another aspect that you have to take into consideration is runs allowed, not just earned runs, but runs allowed. So he might have been allowing runs that guys got on base because of errors or whatnot, and he just wasn't able to work out of it. So,
his earned run average was about 2 runs higher in the playoffs than it was in the regular season. So. Clayton Kershaw will be a first ballot Hall of Famer, notwithstanding your critique of him. So,
all right. First topic, we will talk about Larry's favorite NFL team, and that is the Pittsburgh Steelers. At 4-2, they host the Green Bay Packers in an interconference matchup on Sunday night. NFL NBC. We've been waiting all night for Sunday night, as they say. And the Packers are 4-1-1 going into that game. Should be a really good game.
Oh, it should be. But, after watching that game Thursday night, if you're a Steeler fan, you have some doubt about what your favorite team might do on Sunday night. Look, the Cincinnati Bengals, who were a bad football team coming into this game, I believe 2-4, they ran the ball down our throat. And it's no different, Ronnie, whether you're talking about high school football or professional football. If you can't control the line of scrimmage, you're probably not going to win. And Cleveland ran the ball. They were the worst rushing team in the NFL. And they ran the ball for 142 yards. But that wasn't the best of it. Joe Flacco, who next week will get his Social Security card, his Medicare card. You understand? My man's he's going on Social Security and Medicare. He threw for 328 yards against the mighty Pittsburgh Steelers defense that I think Mike Tomlin early in the year called them historic. They might be historically good. Well, Big Mike, they're kind of historically bad right now. So, look, it's the NFL. And here's the stat that you need to know, and I heard this morning. Away teams on Thursday night, they gave this stat this morning in the NFC North. The Steelers are like 2-7, I think now, but Baltimore is like 2-7, and Cleveland and Cincinnati, they're like 1-7. So teams that have to go on the road on Thursday night in a short week do not do well, and that is true throughout the National Football League. So the fact that the Steelers lost on Thursday night should not be a surprise. I think Tomlin's 0-6 or something against NFC North teams when he's away on Thursday night. But it was a Thursday night away game. I think Sunday night's game is going to be a portent about what the Steelers may look like the rest of the year. What are your thoughts, Mr. Poniewasz?
Well, that game that you're touching on, that Bengals game, that was a hard game if you wanted action on it because, as you mentioned, with the Steelers' recent success or lack thereof on Thursday Night Football, you also had the other end of the spectrum where Mike Tomlin's teams were 8-0 in the last 8 games coming off a bye. So you just didn't know if you wanted action on it.
Yeah, but they weren't coming off a bye. If you recall, they played Cleveland the week before. So there's a lot to be said about teams playing away on Thursday night in a short week. And everybody in the NFC North, Cleveland, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, not only have losing records, they're like horrific on Thursday night when they're playing away. So there may be a little bit of a, I hate to use the word excuse, but at least a little bit of a reason why Pittsburgh looks so terrible defensively. I hope that's it. I mean, Jamar Chase had 16 catches in one game.
Yeah.
I could have been watching him and he couldn't have had more than 16. I mean, it was just one of those nights and it didn't look good.
Well, if you remember, Bill Parcells always said, "You are what your record says you are," and the record says that Pittsburgh is 4-2. However, if you look at it and you say, "Well, what did they do in Week 1?" They had a hell of a time beating the winless Jets, and then they lost to the Seahawks. And the Seattle's a good football team.
Seattle's a good football team.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So how do you look at it? I mean, four wins. But you had a hell of a time beating the winless Jets, and you gave up just a boatload of points to the Jets. A miserable offense, and this and that. You're the Steelers guy. You tell me. Is that?
Well, we made I got a mental block. What's the quarterback's name for the Jets? He was with us last year.
Justin Fields.
Yeah, Justin Fields. I'm sorry. We made him look like Johnny Unitas, but this isn't gymnastics. There are no style points. You either win or you lose. And Pittsburgh did, defensively, we're 31st in the league. There's only 32 teams. It has to get better. It can't get worse. The good news is the offense seems to be playing a little bit better. Aaron Rodgers is on pace to set the single season record for touchdown passes by a Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback. We ran the ball for 147 yards last week. So offensively, we're doing some good stuff. But look, the Green Bay Packers are the real deal. The Steelers are normally pretty good at home on Sunday night. But I think they're a dog. Aren't they? Are they a 3.5-point dog Sunday?
That's that I couldn't tell you. I didn't look in too close yet.
I'm almost certain that they are. I heard that today too. So they have to step up defensively. They just have to, because right now the defense is a sieve. People want to fire Mike Tomlin. I'm gonna tell you something. Be careful what you wish for, because Tomlin's record when he's an underdog is one of the best of any coach in the history of the NFL. It's all about the players, Ronnie. It's all about the players. And, they want to talk about schemes and they want to talk about this and that and everything else. The bottom line is, I've coached long enough to know it's all about the players. If our players have a better day than yours, I'm probably going to win. And if they don't, I'm probably going to lose. Nobody in America could have predicted that Joe Flacco was going to throw for 328 yards against anybody. And he did. And he did. He had a great day. It's probably the best day he's had in about 5 years. And the result, 33-31, Bengals win. I'm happy for one reason, though, and that's because our boy Geno Stone, my man Geno, he didn't have his best game. He did get beat for one touchdown, but Geno Stone's a football player, man, and I love him. He's a Red Hurricane, and he's the real deal.
He was 10-1 to get an interception that night. He didn't quite get it.
He came close on that ball down the sideline that the cornerback ended up picking off. I thought Geno had a shot at that. Mm-hmm. The one down the sideline to DK Metcalf that the cornerback, I think, ended up picking off. Geno came in and laid a hit on DK. I thought he was going to have a shot at that ball. But Yeah. So this week, Sunday night, is going to be a portent of what we can expect moving forward from the Pittsburgh Steelers, because I think they got Detroit after this. So, as I like to say, they better put their big boy pants on. And TJ Watt better play a little bit better than he played Sunday or Thursday night. My man was invisible in that game. And he's the straw that stirs the drink on that defense.
Yeah, as we sit here on Tuesday, October 21st, at just shortly after 9:15 p.m., according to ESPN Bet, Green Bay is a 3.5 point favorite, total of 44.5. The Steelers are plus 140 on the money line. So if you like the Steelers to win outright, I would take it. Although I don't know by the time you watch this how the juice moves here or there. I don't know if the Steelers will be bet up or down in that regard. You're right. I'm looking at their schedule. The Steelers go home to the Colts, at Los Angeles Chargers, home to the Bengals, home to the Bears. No, excuse me, they're at the Bears. And I tell you what, here's a fun fact, Larry. I learned this from my dad years ago. My dad was always really good at parlay cards, pools, regular pools that you pick teams with point spreads. And his scientific method was he would look at, and I would always get the Super Bowl program, and in the Super Bowl program, it would have in there team by teams record, game by game, and he'd have a list of how your team did. If you're playing the Colts this week, what's the all-time series and this and that, and people would tell him you can't go by that. These people are retired. Okay, you do it your way. I'll do it my way. And he always tells me the one year he won 4 pools. The one guy that told him you can't do it that way, he didn't win once.
But what do you do? He would look at the all-time record, and if the Steelers have beaten the Packers more than they've beaten us, he picks the Steelers.
And he would investigate point spread, if they're covering the spread, if it's all against the spread. And the reason I'm telling you that is because, as I mentioned, they're coming up against the Bears in a few weeks at Chicago. Look it up. The last time Pittsburgh won in Chicago. And I know people are going to say, yeah, Poniewasz, when's the last time? How often do they play in Chicago? That's not the point. A few years ago, the Bears were terrible. They beat the Ravens. They beat the Bengals. They beat the Steelers. The Bears basically won the AFC North by beating all the AFC North teams, and the Steelers were good that year. That's the whole point. When you look at it and you say, well, Pittsburgh doesn't win in Chicago. Right now, for me, that's an auto play in a few weeks. Is if the Bears are getting points, I'm taking the Bears into points. I might even take the Bears on the money line because Pittsburgh doesn't win in Chicago. At some point, they're going to have to win. Granted, then I might lose, but you know what? That's how you play it.
Yeah, the Bears are playing better too. But look, in big games, your big time players got to play well. TJ Watt had 1 tackle and a half a sack against Cincinnati last week, and if he doesn't play better, we're not going to win against Green Bay. Because you got to get some pressure on the quarterback, you got to turn him over, and the Steelers just didn't get it done. And again, they're 31st defensively in the entire league. You're not winning any kind of championship or any kind of division conference title or a playoff game being 31st out of 32. That just doesn't get it done. And so we're going to know. I think you'll know a lot more about who we are Sunday night. Sunday night at 11 o'clock when that game's over, you're going to know who the Pittsburgh Steelers are.
Yeah, get a win on Sunday night against Green Bay, and I think you're right back where you probably ought to be, 5-2, because I think we all thought they should beat the Bengals by record and stuff like that, and they lost last week. But if we're going by rights and you say they're playing a good Green Bay team and they're the underdog and they win this week, then they cancel each other out, and that would be a good win for Pittsburgh and for all those people like myself that took the Steelers over their win total of 8.5.
Well, again, this could go the other way because after this, we got the Colts.
Mm-hmm.
The Colts are 6-1 as we sit here now. And then we got to go out to L.A. and play the Chargers. It's hard to go cross country and win games. Then we got the Bengals at home, which hopefully we should win that game. But then you say we got to go on the road against the Bears. This could turn around in a heartbeat here and not be good. We got the Bills at home after that. So the schedule gets a lot more difficult, but we'll know a lot more about who the Steelers are Sunday night.
The one give and take with that Chargers game, Larry, it's tough to go out to the West Coast or the West Coast to come to the East Coast, as we all know. However, Pittsburgh's going to invade SoFi Stadium, and you're going to have probably a 75% or better Steeler crowd out in Southern California for that game.
Oh, no, they travel. Steeler fans travel. They certainly do. But this schedule gets a lot tougher, brother, moving forward. It just does. And, again, Sunday night, it'll tell us a lot. The home team better have their big boy pants on.
Right. All right, Larry, we have closed it up for the Steelers. We're going to go to probably your favorite sport, and that is Major League Baseball or baseball in general, and that is the World Series. As the matchup is finally set, we're going to have the Los Angeles Dodgers against the Seattle Mariners. And before we dive into the
No, not the Seattle Mariners.
Excuse me, the Toronto
Blue Jays.
I was thinking, the Mariners screwed up last night, but yeah, you're right, the Blue Jays. But before we do that, Larry, what is your thoughts on a salary cap in baseball? Because I have a very strong opinion on the salary cap.
It has to happen for two reasons. Number one, the inequity of the spending is ridiculous. I think the Dodgers spent $350 million on their payroll, and then you got the miserly Pirates spending about 80. But the reason I want to see a cap is twofold. Number one, it will limit what the Dodgers and the Yankees can spend. But with a salary cap comes a salary floor. And normally the salary floor is somewhere between 80 and 85% of the cap. So if the cap is 200 million, the floor is going to be 160 million. Well, guess who will not spend 160 million on your favorite baseball team? Mr. Robert Nutting. I think if there's a salary cap and a salary floor, he has to sell a team. He has to sell the team. I wrote a column, you read it. It's not just that he doesn't spend, it's that he hires the wrong people. I think the guy wants to win, but he doesn't need to win. And there's a difference, because the guys that need to win, they hold people accountable when they're not getting their job done. And every once in a while, when you need to win, you walk into the locker room and flip the tables over. I think this guy's an excellent businessman, and he's a really nice guy. He's just a bad baseball owner, and Pittsburgh will never win when he is leading the ship. Show me your leaders, I'll show you your team. I don't have to see everybody. While he's the owner and the leader of the pirate ship, we will never win.
Yeah.
So I believe in a salary cap because it comes with a salary floor. Every other sport has one. And I'm hoping if there's a salary floor of about 160 million, Mr. Nutting sells the team.
Well,
your thoughts?
That's where we differ on that, because I truly don't want to see a salary cap in baseball. I see a lot of Pirates fans on there saying you got to put a cap in and this and that. No, cry harder. Well, I'll get you a box of tissues. How about that? You have the New York Mets. You know how much they spent this year? You know where they rank? They didn't even make the playoffs.
So, I got it. Go ahead. What else are you going to say? Because I can tell you that in the last 20 years, only one team that wasn't in the top 10 teams of payroll spending was in the World Series, let alone won it. It's become an exclusive club. I heard that stat today. In the last 20 years, if you weren't only one team, and I think it was Kansas City a few years ago, that wasn't in the top 10 teams of spending, made it to the World Series. This year, Toronto's like number 3 or 4 or 5, and of course the Dodgers are 1. So, and again, I'm a Pirate fan, but I want a cap because there'll be a floor, and if there's a floor, Nutting isn't spending up to the floor, I'm hoping he sells the team. He'll never vote for a salary cap because with it comes a salary floor. He's not going to do it.
Well, it's like shooting pool, Larry. When the cue ball comes to a rest over here, I don't want to shoot from over there. I want to move it over here, and that's what people are doing. They want to take the easiest shot, and that's what they're doing. They want the rules in their favor. So let's say they put a salary cap in, and the Pirates are still in last place, losing 95, 100 games a year. What's the next move? Because remember, they want to move the cue ball around the table to get it where they want to put it.
I don't agree with you often because most of the time you're dead wrong. But I do agree with you on this one issue. If there's a salary cap and Bob Nutting's still the owner and he hires the people he hires and he doesn't hold people accountable and he doesn't need to win, you're right. The Pirates will still be in the bottom half of the standings. I agree with you there. I do. And I don't agree with you often because most of the time you're just dead wrong. But this time you're right. Explain to me, why is there a salary cap in every other sport but baseball?
Apparently, they put it in the collective bargaining agreements of the NFL, the National Hockey League, NBA, and they didn't feel the need to do that in Major League Baseball. However, that's coming to an end. I think next year maybe is when the contract is up, and they're going to have to renegotiate, and there could be a lockout. And
If there's no baseball next year, does that bother you?
I like baseball, so
That's
yeah.
because you can probably bet on it every night. That's why you like baseball. But do you really like baseball?
Yes.
Who do you root for? The Indians?
No, God, I can't stand Cleveland. But however, I do not like the fact that they changed their nickname from Indians to Guardians.
Oh, man. Okay. Well, you know what? And again, I agree with you. Neither do I. I just referred to them as the Indians because I'm an old guy, and that's what I
Right.
always know them to be. Who do you root for? The Red Sox?
No, I'm a Pirates fan.
Oh, well, then you feel my pain. You can't be. I mean, you realize how long it's been since we've had. I mean, come on, man.
Yep.
79 was the last time we won a playoff series. 79. I didn't have gray hair. I was 20. I was 26 years old in 1979. Come on, my man. You got to help me out. But again, I agree with you. Even with a salary cap, Nutting's not going to win. He's not going to win. It won't make any difference. I'm just hoping with the cap comes a floor. He won't spend up to the floor. He sells the team and get somebody in there who really needs to win, not just wants to, needs to, Ronnie.
Yes. Do I love baseball? Absolutely. I love baseball the way it was played in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. I don't like challenging balls and strikes on every pitch. I don't like the fact that you put a quote unquote, what I call a designated runner. I think it's ridiculous when people say it's a ghost runner. It's an actual person at second base. How can it be a ghost runner? He's got a pulse. He's got a blood type. He's got fingerprints. He's a person. He's not a.
Well, see, that doesn't bother me. It doesn't. In the regular season, it doesn't bother me to see that because I think it was done at the players' request because they don't, and the managers, they don't want to see these regular season games go 18 innings. You know, it wrecks the bullpen and the staff and for the next 2 weeks. So that doesn't bother me. And we talked about this last week. The ball strike umpire, using the automated umpire, I can deal with that. I don't like the calls being challenged in the field where you got to look at it 15 times to determine if the guy's out or safe. That was meant to overturn obvious bad calls. And my point is, you should look at it once. If you can't tell, then done. Go with the umpire. Because I missed the arguments. I missed the guy running out from the dugout, turning his hat around and kicking dirt on the umpire's shoes. That was part of the ambiance of baseball.
Do you like Ron Poniewasz arguing with umpires and officials? Because that's probably how I would have done it. I'd have pulled an Earl Weaver and turned the hat backwards. And
yeah. I mean, that's one thing I never did as a baseball manager. Because you're coaching high school kids. I've always was of the belief that if the coach loses his composure, the players are going to lose theirs. I think I went out onto the field one time in my 3 years at Chenango to argue a call because I thought it was a misinterpretation of the rule. And I was actually wrong on that. So it was, I'm not so sure I was wrong, but it was a weird call. It was really weird. My guy hits a home run. The ball hits the foul pole. I got a guy on first base. He's trotting around the bases because the ball hit the foul pole. It's a home run. The outfielder picks it up. they throw the ball to third base, tab my guy out. Now my guy thinks he's out. He walks into the dugout, and the umpire said, even though it was a home run, my guy's out because he walked into the dugout. I said, well, the umpire called him out. It was probably the weirdest call I've ever seen. But I miss the arguments in Major League Baseball. I do. All right, pick a winner for me. Who do you like, Dodgers or the Blue Jays?
I like the Dodgers. The Dodgers were, if you got it before, I think before the playoffs, they were 5-1, something like that, maybe 7-1. So they were a good value. Now they're over a $2 favorite, maybe 240 on the money line to win the series. So I think if you're gonna play anything in this, play the Dodgers to win in the sweep because you get better juice number. However, who do you think is going to win, Larry? Los Angeles or Toronto?
No, I think Los Angeles is winning. It's always comes down to pitching. And, the Blue Jays, their pitching is spent. They don't even know who they're throwing yet in game one. And the Dodgers are going to come with Blake Snell, Amioto, and probably Shohei Ohtani to start the series. That's pretty good stuff. And their first three hitters are Ohtani, Mookie Betts, and I don't know if Teoscar Hernandez is hitting third now or Freddie Freeman, but it doesn't matter. I mean, 1 through 9, they're loaded. Yeah. The
Freddie,
Dodgers are the best. They're the best team that money can buy. $350 million worth.
then don't sell Tyler Glasnow short, former Pirate. I think he's probably the number 3 and Ohtani the 4 because that's how it was in the divisional round. Ohtani was the fourth pitcher, and they swept them. Now here's another interesting thing. You like the Dodgers. Who are you picking for MVP?
Oh man, you got to go with Shohei Ohtani. Shohei Ohtani, they were saying he was Barry Bonds' bust in the playoffs because at one point he was like 3 for 29. Well, how'd he do the other night? They're calling it the greatest game in the history of baseball. He hit 3 home runs. One went out of the stadium, and he pitched 6 innings and struck out 10 guys. The greatest single game in the history of baseball. So, right. Not too bad, right?
Ohtani got the MVP for the division series. He wasn't on anybody's radar as far as that because of how poor he played at the plate. However, people were saying if he's going to get the MVP in this series, he's going to probably have to throw 6 innings, check, 10 strikeouts, check, and at least 2 home runs, check. He did all 3 of those things in Game 4, and he won the MVP. Now, here's another interesting thing, Larry. Game 4, he was, I think, 115-1 to throw 10 strikeouts and have at least 2 home runs, and he did both of them.
He had 3 home runs.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just, it's he's a special player, unlike what we've seen in a long time. Babe Ruth, there you go, brother. The last guy to put up stats like this guy. And the Dodgers are just, they're 1 through 9. They're the real deal. And, I'd like to see Toronto win, but I'm not so sure that's going to happen. But in a 7-game series, anything can happen. Truth be told, anything can happen. But, the Dodgers, their pitching depth is just so strong that it's really hard to think that you're going to go through that rotation twice and be able to get to these guys because they're that good. Blake Snell and Yamamoto are unbelievable, and Ohtani may be better than both of them. And as you said, Tyler Glasnow has reinvented himself.
Yeah. Interesting plays on most valuable player. Last year, Freddie Freeman won it. This year, I believe he's 9 or 10-1, depending on when and where you get it, what shop. That'd be an interesting play as MVP going against the grain. And remember, since we both agree that the Dodgers will win, you have to take somebody for the Dodgers. Another guy would be if you think Blake Snell is going to get 2 starts. Blake Snell would be another candidate. But again, he's got to get 2 starts. If he only gets 1 start, that's not going to be enough because somebody like Ohtani, if he gets 1 start and Snell gets 1 start, that's a wash. But you're going to have 3 or 4 at-bats every game for Ohtani. So I like Freddie Freeman at 9 or 10-1. I like Blake Snell, a long shot. Teoscar Hernandez would be another possibility. I don't really want to throw anything on Mookie Betts, but who knows? He could be another one. My top one would be Freddie Freeman.
I'm betting Ohtani. How could you not? I mean, he's hot now, and he's not only hits, but he pitches. He's the real deal. And of course, Vlad Guerrero Jr. for Toronto. He's been lights out. My man in the playoffs is hitting about 450. And I think he might have struck out like one time, in or twice in the whole since the playoffs have started. So yeah, they're the real deal. What's interesting is Bo Bichette may be back,
Mm-hmm.
and that will help Toronto if he's back, if he can come back and play. He hit 311, I believe. I'm sorry. Yeah, he hit 311, slugged 483, had 94 ribbies, 18 home runs. So he will add some depth to that lineup.
Dodgers in a sweep. How many games does it go?
I say 6.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I will say no more than 5. And the reason I said Mariners, Dodgers, I got ahead of myself. You're right. It is obviously Blue Jays and Dodgers. Were you surprised at how Seattle handled the late game situation last night with George Springer coming to the plate? Andres Munoz, their closer, the Mariners closer. Why would you wait until possibly the 8th or ninth inning to pitch him? Why wouldn't you say, we're up 3-1? You know what? Damn it, let's put him in there right now. And okay, maybe he gives up the sac fly. Now you're still winning 3-2. Now there's 2 outs. And, you could possibly get out of it. Instead, they put Edward Nunez, I believe the guy's last name was, Edward Bazardo. They put him in there, boom, right down the middle, 3-run jack. Guess what? Game over. I don't know why they went that route.
You must have gotten smarter in the last month or two, because I'm agreeing with you again here. The game was on the line.
Yeah.
In the was it the 8th inning or the 7th? The
7th inning that
7th. Yeah.
Yeah.
The game was on the line. It was on the line. First and second, top of the order up. You bring your closer in because it's time to close that down.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that the manager for the Mariners, Wilson, I think is his name, he won't sleep for the next 3 weeks thinking about that. You got to bring your closer in when the game's on the line. And the game was on the line. There was first and second. And the top of the order's coming up.
It would be like if all things were equal and David Bednar was still on the Pirates. Yes, don't wait till the 9th inning. Put him in now. Put him in the 7th inning with 1 out. Let him pitch an inning and 2/3 because he's got it. You've got to do it. You've got to shut him down right now. There's no tomorrow. This is game 7. You either win or you lose. You either win and move on or go home. And for whatever reason, he managed in order. And at that point, you need to manage out of order. You need to bump people up and put your best matchups in right now.
No, I agree with that. And I don't care if he only pitched 1 inning. The game was on the line. There was a walk, a base hit, a sacrifice bunt, which I still love to see. The guy laid down a great bunt. And now you got George Springer coming up, and you bring your closer in. I don't care. Get out of that inning and then go to the next. What was a little dangerous is the Blue Jays brought their closer in. He had thrown 35 pitches the day before. His control wasn't great. It wasn't. But he went to 3-2 on all 3 batters, struck the first 2 guys out on high fastballs, and got Hernandez out, Julio, on a pitch that wasn't in the strike zone ever. Couldn't have been hit with a boat oar, and he got lucky, and the guy swung at it and missed.
Next on our list is college coaching, and again from the sport of football. While James Franklin got canned last week, we had Mike Norvell gets a vote of confidence when Florida State goes out to Stanford, and they lost. They had a chance to at least tie the game and send it to overtime on the last play of the game, but they got stopped and they ended up losing to a bad Stanford team. Again, you got ACC way over here, and the Big Ten or whatever Stanford. They're both ACC teams, I guess. Atlantic Coast, Pacific Coast, and they're in the Atlantic Coast Conference. It doesn't make any sense. But Mike Norvell gets a vote of confidence. However, Billy Napier of Florida got canned last week.
Look, why do you fire a coach in the middle of the season?
Right.
That just it puts the team in turmoil. It just doesn't bode well. You got to have a little. I don't know. I mean, look, you can fire all of these guys. James Franklin, how'd that work out for Penn State at Iowa last weekend? Not very well. And Florida. Look, wait till the end of the year. Have a conversation with the coach. Make a decision. Let it simmer a little bit. Knee-jerk reactions don't always work out, and it certainly isn't in the best interest of the team to fire a guy in the middle of the year. I just don't think it is. Now, it worked out for UCLA. They fired their guy, and they won 2 games in a row. But I don't know. It's the world we live in. It's the world of knee-jerk reactions, pressure from boosters, that it's distasteful, if you ask me, to do that. I don't see any good. Very seldom has a season turned around when you fired a coach in the middle of the season.
Yeah. I don't know if we've had 8 firings this year. I did see a stat, and there was 8 coaches. So, but I don't know if it went back to late last year. But I think it was this year. So if that's the case, we've had 8 firings. And the reason that's interesting is out of those 8 firings, Larry, I know you want to win, and it doesn't mean anything to cover a spread. But out of those 8 firings, how many covered the spread the next week? The interim coach. How did they play for their interim coach?
Probably not well. Again, it worked out for UCLA. They won a couple games after that happened. But I just don't see it being of great value to fire a coach in the middle of the season. It puts the team in turmoil. It just does. And the assistant coaches who are asked to take over the reins, it puts them in an awkward position also. I mean, they're beholden to the head coach who hired them and put those coaches on their staff. And now all of a sudden, they gotta take over for their boss who just got fired. I don't know. I just think it's the world we live in. It's a knee-jerk reaction world, and I don't think it works. I don't think it works into anybody's best interest to do that in the middle of the season. I just don't. That's just my view of it, and it happens too often. I like to see some athletic directors who have a sturdy backbone, and notwithstanding the fact that the boosters are screaming, "We want them out." The students are screaming, "We're not going to give you any more money." You got to have a little backbone, and I think do what's right for the coach that you probably hired, his staff, and the university that you represent. That's just my feeling on that.
Correct answer from the way I saw it, listed earlier today on quote unquote X, Twitter for those of us that are like me. 7-1 teams that have fired a coach are now 7-1 after firing a coach. That includes Penn State covering the +3 last week against Iowa because they lost 25.
Well, they're 7-1 against the spread, or they're 7-1 win-loss record
against the spread. So
Yeah.
they at least show up to play, and they play hard for whoever is the interim coach. And I believe Colorado State also fired their coach because they are a 6-point dog against Wyoming, and they're taking bets because that's went down to 4.5. So we'll see if that trend continues.
I don't know, Ronnie. I just don't think it's in anybody's best interest to be Xing out coaches, in the middle of the season. I just don't.
Right. I agree.
And listen, Florida's had some nice wins. I mean, they beat Texas 29-21. Texas was the number 1 team in the country, to start the season. I mean, they're 3-4, I think, overall, but the SEC That's some tough sledding in that conference. So I don't know, Ronnie. I don't agree with it. I think you should wait to the end of the year. You should think about it. You should let it simmer. I wouldn't fire the guy the day after the season's over. I'd let it go, a couple days, meet with him, talk to him, see where he's at, where his head's at, and then make a decision. Because when you're firing these guys, you're writing big checks. Penn State, 50 million for Franklin. The staff, if the new coach comes in and gets rid of the staff, it's another 25 million, $75 million it's going to cost you to change the head coach,
Right.
At a school. And I'm sure Florida is probably not much different.
Yeah, so we're in unison on that one. We agree. Last topic of the night, still in football, but at a higher level, Monday Night Football. Larry, we had two games, a doubleheader on Monday night. A lot of people don't like it. I, for one, love it.
Yeah, you get to lay two bets down. That's why you love it. And believe me, the NFL does it for the gamblers, for FanDuel and DraftKings. Listen, I remember there was a time that Paul Hornung and Alex Karras, they got suspended from the NFL because they were betting on football games. And listen, if you think that maybe some of these NFL players aren't betting maybe not on their own team, but aren't betting through third parties on these games, I think you're rather naive. It's not like the old days where you had to call your bookie up. You could be betting under a fictitious name or have your uncle or buddy bet for you. Gambling is just, it's part of our society. And quite frankly, it doesn't bother me. I still think you're a nice guy, Ronnie, even though you got to bet down on every game that's ever played. My dad loved to gamble. That's just one habit I don't have. But that's what this is all about, Ronnie. They talk about player safety. They're playing on Thursday nights. Really? Short weeks. Really? You're concerned about player safety? No, they're concerned about TV revenue and satisfying the FanDuels and DraftKings of the world. My view. What's your view of that?
I enjoy the Monday night doubleheaders, but I enjoy them the way they were last night, and that's 7 p.m. and 10:15. And you have a split majority. You have people like me feeling 7 and 10:15, but you have other people that say, whose bright idea was that? I can't stay awake. Well, I'm not asking you to stay awake. You don't have to stay awake. I'm not standing there with a weapon in front of you saying you have to stay awake from this. That's the way football should be. You should have them scattered where you can watch one and then another one. Not have it at 7 and 8:15 where you get to watch a quarter and say, oh boy, I got another one over here. What do I flip, back and forth? No, I want to be able to watch both games 7 and 10:15.
Yeah, because you got money on both of them. Here's what I'm going to do for you. I know a guy that works for the NFL. I'm going to get you Roger Goodell's telephone number, and you can call him and say, hey, listen, my man, I get down on these games, and I got to finish one before I start the other. I'm sure he's going to say, hey, Ronnie, no problem. From now on, that's the way we're going to do it. If you didn't have a bet on the Texans and the Seahawks, how many people in Western Pennsylvania would stay up to midnight to watch that game? If you didn't have a bet.
I guarantee you won't be able to tell me what I bet on from that game. You will not guess. I could give you 100 guesses. You won't guess.
No, because you bet all those props and you do all that crazy stuff. Nobody cares about the Texans and the Seahawks. I'm not so sure. I mean, the Lions and the Buccaneers had a little more marquee value, but for the most part, nobody's watching those games if they don't have a bet on it. And the NFL knows that, and that's why they encourage the betting, because the more people that watch, the more television revenue is generated. It's all about the cash, my man. It's all about the bottom line money.
1-1, Larry. I lost Jared Goff over 283.5. Baker Mayfield all of a sudden decided he wanted to overthrow people by 5 yards, and they weren't competitive, and they needed to just run the ball, Detroit. But the bet that I made in the Houston game, Kai Fairbairn, place kicker of the Houston Texans, over 1.5 made field goals.
And
he made at least 3, I think it was.
So you don't care who wins the game. as long as the kicker, puts it through the uprights. That's beautiful. God bless you, man. You're just beautiful. But you're no different than most guys. There are people that not only bet before the game starts, they place 2 or 3 bets every quarter, right?
Right.
Because you can bet every quarter. It's insanity. It's insane. I love the days of the old parlay slips. You remember you would
Oh, yeah.
circle and you could bet 70 cents, and if you hit a 3-teamer, you won $5.
Oh, yeah.
That's my betting experience. That was probably 50 years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the world we live in, brother. And it's guys like you who make that world go, bro.
And there's two things I want to ask you since you brought up player safety. I'll get to you on that one just in a bit. I don't know if you watched the Seattle game. There's one thing that really bothers me, and players know better. They have to know better. And like I say, I don't know if you watched the game or even saw highlights, but Jackson Smith-Njigba caught a touchdown pass. You're not allowed to dunk the ball over the goalpost.
I saw that. He did it.
Yeah. And he did. And there's a referee standing right there. And there's people, there's 50% over here and 50% over there. I'm the 50% over here that says, as soon as he dunked it, I'm throwing the flag. Why? Because it's in the rule book. You're not allowed to. And he did it anyways. Now,
I think the rule is they're concerned about the integrity of the goalpost. Is that why? Come on, man. Come on. Really?
No, it's legit, because if you could shift it somehow where it needs straightened, and then that takes a delay. But he has to know better, and apparently he doesn't care. You know how you get them to do that? You know how to get them to stop? You throw the flag and say the touchdown is good. After the play, we have unsportsmanlike conduct on the offense. Number 11, I think he's number 11. That's a 15-yard penalty. It also carries an automatic disqualification. It also carries an automatic disqualification for next week. Try for point. That's what you do. That's what you do. And agree with that.
Well, I think that's a little harsh. They do get a 15-yard penalty for unsportsmanlike conduct. But that's up to the coach to control that, isn't it? I mean, isn't it? Again, but the coaches don't have the say so anymore because they're not making the money. Joe Paterno said it best: when you score a touchdown, pretend like you've done this before.
Right.
Again, listen. You know what I loved about Malik Hooker, who now plays for the Dallas Cowboys? When he played for Newcastle basketball, he would start at the foul line, tomahawk dunk on somebody. It would end up on ESPN. And after he did it, all he did was turn around and go back and play defense. He didn't raise his arms in the air. He didn't stand over the guy that he just tomahawk dunked on. He didn't beat his chest. He never said, "Look at me." Those are the guys that I like. But again, that has a lot to do with the coaches. That has a lot to do with the coaches. And maybe I live in a dream world that you can't do this with professional athletes, but I think you can. Listen, I hate to see that clownish behavior. Score a touchdown, like pretend you've done this before, like it's no big deal. Larry Fitzgerald used to hand the ball to the referee and say, "I'll see you again next quarter."
Yeah.
I mean, that's in my view, but I'm an old guy and there's a lot of people that'll disagree with me. Do a poll on our Instagram account or on our Twitter account and ask, is it acceptable to act like a clown after you score a touchdown? Do a poll. I bet it's 70-30 people saying, "Oh yeah, it's okay to dance and sing and do whatever they do in the end zone."
And Larry, as it relates to player safety, we were talking about it earlier. I think you're talking player safety from a Sunday to Thursday, and it's a valid point. However, Roger Goodell wants to preach player safety, and then in the same breath, he wants to play a 19th game or a 20th game. So you can't preach player safety, and on the other hand, say, "Yeah, we want to add games." It's you're counteracting yourself.
No, it's hypocritical. It's all about money. Remember the song? I can't remember who sang it. It might have been the Four Tops or one of those guys. It would go, "Money, money, money, money."
Yeah.
That's what this is all about. It's about cash. The owners want more cash. And if player safety has to be sacrificed for it, I think they're willing to do it, unfortunately, because I mean they're talking about 18 games for sure, and you're talking about 19 or 20. I mean that's a lot of football games, brother. Because if you play 18 in the regular season and then you play 4 playoff games, 22 games, you know the average lifespan of a professional football player is about 20 years less than the average lifespan of a normal man in America. And there's a reason. That's not coincidence.
And then you just wonder what the quality of life is too.
Oh, sure. I mean, CTE and broken bones. And, I have a lot of buddies who walk with a limp now or have bad backs. And I always look at them and say the sins of our youth when we were young kids and playing football and playing sports and doing all that stuff. As you get older, it catches up with you. And the violence of a high school game is nothing compared to the violence of a college game, which also pales in comparison to the violence of a professional football game.
That's right. All right, Larry. Hey, this is fun. I enjoy it. It's Good Guy, Bad Guy Sports here on our YouTube channel, Newcastle News Sports. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did.
I love it. I love it because you're such a good bad guy. You serve that role. You gripe about everything. I'm okay with that. You want to throw guys out of the game for dunking the football over the goalpost. Whew. You know what? Maybe you're an excellent journalist and you are the sports editor of the Newcastle News, but maybe a good retirement job, we can make you the warden of the Lawrence County Jail.
Hey, whatever it takes, whatever it takes. Maybe I do a good job with it. Who knows?
There might be insurrection down there if we let you in charge, though. But all right, my brother, I enjoyed it. Good guy, bad guy sports. We got to keep doing it.
One thing people don't know before we close up is we actually killed an entire battery and had to pick up where we left off. So apparently we are two blue-haired ladies under a thing at the beauty salon just talking.
That is a scary figure to think about, Ronnie P. So I don't want to think about that. But we had a good time and hopefully everybody enjoyed it.
That's right. Thank you for joining us, everybody. We'll be back next week to talk Gridiron 2025 and maybe some more national topics. But for then, thank you for tuning in. He's Larry Kelly. I'm Ron Poniewasz.
There's one thing I learned growing up around here. People should look out for each other. Be friends and neighbors that you can count on. So it bothers me when people who are hurt in automobile accidents get bullied by the insurance company. I don't let bullies run over my clients. I do what I was taught growing up. Step up, stand up, and speak up for those who can't. I'm Larry Kelly, and I'm a Newcastle guy.
Are we going to finish this up?
Yeah, we got backup phone in.
Cody to the rescue.
My man Cody, what's up, bro?
What's up?